one of us finally got around to seeing Superman.
Superman, not Legacy. And because of scheduling, I ended up seeing it twice in 2 days. So it is definitely on my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, and your memory's fresher than mine, but I'm sure as soon as you start talking about it, I'll be like, okay, yeah, I remember that. And
Yep.
yeah, before we get into it though, this is a spoiler review, so we are going to be really getting into it.
Yep.
All the good stuff. Yeah.
Now, before I do that, I'm just going to give my quick non-spoiler thoughts. This basically feels like picking up a 1970s Superman annual in a good way. It is very interesting that James Gunn has decided to go all in on a 70s aesthetic.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I see that Arcos didn't like it as much as I did. Because, see, here's the thing. I can appreciate a kind of messy superhero narrative. Now, I feel sorry for anybody who doesn't know who Metamorpho or Mr. Terrific or Guy Gardner Green Lantern is, because they do a pretty decent job of establishing who they are, but it is a bit overstuffed. I do have some issues with how Superman himself was characterized, though. Unlike the previous regime's Superman, I feel like the writers actually understood him and were just setting him up to go in to develop into the more mature Superman we would expect.
Yeah. And I don't know if you agreed with me or not that, like, on the scale of this being Christopher Reeve and then that being Henry Cavill, that Corn Sweat was probably closer to he was closer to Reeve in terms of just how he did it.
Yeah, and I would say, like, I would put him above Cavill because unlike Henry Cavill, he had the unfair advantage of actually getting to portray Superman as written by somebody who understood the comics.
Yeah.
Instead of a edgelord talking about Batman getting assaulted in prison.
Yeah.
But I would just say that if you have even a passing interest in superhero movies, this one is definitely interesting and is worth your time. I can see why some people did not enjoy it, but and I'm weird. I got enjoyment out of a lot of the dumping ground DC movies. I got much more comfortable with the Snyderverse continuity once I understood it wasn't the future. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Now we're getting into some spoiler thoughts.
Yes.
And I think that it does kind of make sense to go in chronological order.
Okay.
So the basic outline of the movie is, again, since we're in all spoiler mode here, we're just gonna, I'm gonna talk about things that aren't revealed yet. This is a world with an evil space conquering Krypton, or at least a wannabe space conquering Krypton.
Yes, which is probably the most controversial aspect of this movie.
It is one of the weaker writing moments where everybody just accepts it immediately, even though Lex Luthor was recovering it from corrupted data in a world of AI image and voice generation.
Mm-hmm. And and from a character whose whose integrity, the fact that she said, "Oh, I fixed it." Really? Did you really?
Yeah. And so Superman was sent to Earth, and he is secretly there to get himself a super harem and pass on whatever of the Kryptonian race that he can, and to rule over the world. If you believe the second half of that message.
Yes. I have a couple of theories about that. One of those theories, actually, they both involve General Zod.
Okay.
See, I have one theory. I have is that that's not Jor-El and Lara. That's General Zod and his lieutenant, whatever I can't remember what her name was. And they basically like swapped out the message that Jor-El and Lara left for him with their own, saying that stuff.
Okay, so it's like basically they saw that this was going to be the last survivor of Krypton. They decided that they would rather have some of Krypton live on, and they decided to pollute his legacy.
Right.
Jor-El's legacy.
Yes. Because if you think about it, like, getting having a harem and ruling over everything, that sounds more like Zod than
Yes.
Jor-El. The other theory is that that was Jor-El and Lara, but Zod somehow like hijacked the message and put his own the second half of it is him putting his own version of what he what he wants to tell Kal-El.
Right, and so it's like the reason it was corrupted wasn't because it was damaged in flight, which is kind of so it damaged that specific recording, not the AI of any of the Superman robots, not the advanced structures needed to make the Fortress of Solitude, not the guidance program of the spaceship.
Yeah. No,
just that one recording.
One. Yeah.
See that okay, I hadn't thought about that, but that makes sense too. I'm more inclined to believe that the engineer messed with it, or that Lex Luthor heard the innocent message and said, "Can you change it?" Because while they try to say, like, I think I heard that there was like a longer cut of this movie, so there might have been a scene of Mr. Terrific trying to verify it, and like it actually turning up straight. This one's just like, nah, man, those data scientists don't lie.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, man. Oh, jeez. But
and so they do a thing where Superman is getting beaten up by the you know what at this point, if you have seen the movie and you have an interest in it, I don't see the reason. I'm going to change my mind and not necessarily go in order.
Okay.
Let's kind of talk about like things that were weird and didn't quite work, and then we'll get to the stuff that we did like.
Okay.
So the movie starts with Superman getting beaten up by the hammer of Batavia.
Yeah. I can't remember the name of the two countries. Yeah, it started with a B, and then there's the other one I can't remember.
Jaipur or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, there's a supervillain there. Okay, I am the hammer of Batavia. Superman has interfered with our internal policies, and it will not be allowed to happen again. And he proceeds to beat Superman into the dust. The logical problem I have there is, imagine if a U.S. president sent a shipment of materials to help Ukraine defend itself, and as a result, a Russian supervillain showed up in showed up in New York City, beat up Captain America, caused a lot of damage, and almost killed a lot of American civilians, and then said, "This is for Mother Russia." Would this country still be considered a U.S. ally, as Batavia clearly is in the movie?
Probably not. No. Yeah. That is one kind of glaring plot hole. Yeah.
And see, all you have to, I think it's like would be relatively easy to fix. You just have when the Baravian president is on the news say, well, we do not acknowledge or condone the actions of the Hammer of Batavia. However, we understand the patriots' indignation at having our way of life dictated by an American puppet. I mean, I just kind of like the non-denial denial that you often get out of politicians, where it's like, well, while we don't support X, we understand why people are upset.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Yeah. It kind of really didn't work too well in that regard. Although what was even odd, what was just the reveal of who the Hammer of Moravia really was kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah, the clone of Superman who is either Ultraman or, in my theory, he might come back as Bizarro since he ended up in a black hole at the end.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good. Hey, good to see you, Ninja.
Hey, man.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay. So the black hole, the pocket universe.
Yes.
Do you think that worked, or do you think it was like stupid?
I thought for comic book science, it worked well enough. If you tried to throw that into an episode of Star Trek or a Star Wars movie, I would blanch much more at it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was kind of, it was sort of like the Negative Zone from Marvel. Kind of, I think
Right.
that's kind of what they were going for.
Right. Or it could even end up being a version of the Phantom Zone, I suppose. Although I guess, never mind, Lex Luthor made it, so it wouldn't be old enough to have Zod in it.
That's true. But yeah, like, yeah, and I will say there another plot hole. I mentioned it. I think I mentioned it to you, and I'm going to bring it up here. So the way that that Lex Luthor gets exposed, and it's okay. So you find out that Jimmy Olsen has like an on again, off again relationship with Eve Tessmacher, who is like Lex Luthor's squeeze, and she's in the background of like almost like a lot of the major scenes, and she's always taking a selfie. And it didn't dawn on me until last week when I did my review of it that, wait a second, why would Lex Luthor have her in the background of all these, like, of him committing high treason and committing very serious crimes? Not only like having her there, but also with her phone taking selfies around sensitive information and sensitive equipment.
See, I think that is actually in character for this version of Lex Luthor to just like, because basically his perspective is she is an outlet for my physical frustrations and also a trophy on my arm. She is beneath my notice. She is a silly nothing bimbo, basically.
Okay.
And if I ever get tired of her, she can just go into the hole with the others.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Now, what makes less sense is, okay, Lex, are you just going to abandon your U.S. operations to become the king of your half of Jaipur?
Yeah. Which, like, yeah, that country is not nearly as sophisticated as the United States.
Right. Now, he's probably going to try to make, he would probably have been trying to make like a technocracy utopia type thing.
Yeah.
But by the way, were you getting like Elon Musk the way that people who hate Elon Musk see Elon Musk vibes from this movie?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, I was getting a little bit of that, yeah. And Ninja says this version of Lex has
Yes, which many people were seeing that as him taking a swipe at the Snyder Bros, being so angry about him getting this part and taking away their continuity.
Yeah.
But which that's fair. That was a detail that was probably just meant to be like a silly image in his head.
Yeah.
And while I did say earlier that there was, how can you trust that kind of thing in a world where there's AI image generation? It occurs to me that that may not be the case, because while there are cell phones, like the rest of the tech and styling of things is kind of, like I said before, very 1970s. So maybe it's all just meant to be like super technology from the far off future of 1990X, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I was just seeing the monkeys, and it reminded me of The Simpsons, with Mr. Burns having all the chimps.
It was the best of times. It was the blurst of times. You stupid monkey. Um, but yeah, so like Lex's plan doesn't entirely make sense. I am willing to give it the benefit of the doubt of it works well enough for this movie, and it is also this version of Lex Luthor. I think is okay. Do you remember that stage in the comic books where Lex Luthor became president, and then he ruined it all, dosing himself with kryptonite laced venom because reasons?
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
This is like a Lex Luthor who has gotten too much power, letting his hatred of Superman bring him down. Now, could it have been done more artfully? Yes, it could have. But like this is going to be a theme for when we get to like the things I did like. It is a thing where it's like the details don't entirely add up, but it's like it feels thematic and proper for the character, which I don't usually give credit for a thing like working on vibes when the actual logic doesn't work on it. But it's like I can't bring it in myself to dislike this movie because it feels like its heart is in the right place, even if the details aren't entirely. If that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. It's I think Alan Ning put it best. Like it's not a home run; it's a double.
Yes,
it's not a great movie. It's not reinventing the wheel, so to speak. It's just it is a fun comic book superhero movie that isn't what is it? It's not trying to
it isn't overly political one way or the other.
Right,
it isn't preaching at you.
Yes, yeah.
Now, Lex clearly states that the country was a bonus as his main goal of getting permission to kill Superman. Yes, but what I'm saying is that when he ended up getting half of the country, like what was going to actually happen at that point? Like, sure,
yeah,
like okay, like I'm gonna draw you a scenario here. Imagine that I don't feel like making the Elon Musk comparison again. Imagine that. Oh, who's the head of Microsoft these days? Not Bill Gates.
It's not Ballmer, is it?
No, Ballmer's been gone for a while.
Okay.
It is Satya Nadella. That's right. Okay, imagine that Satya Nadella was scheming with the government of India, and he's from India, so that might be too on the nose. Scheming with the government of Brazil, and Brazil is trying to conquer Uruguay, and Satya Nadella uses his Microsoft connections and government ties to help make this happen, make it possible. But he secretly is trying to take down the head of Google in the process. At the end of the day, it turns out that Satya, gets half of Uruguay. That's going to be like, why are you conspiring with a foreign power to invade a sovereign country? I feel like there are going to be some questions involved.
Yeah. Would he be considered a traitor to the United States? And even if he goes to the other country and rules over it, like, okay, well, you're considered an enemy of the United States now, and you're a criminal. We're gonna send SEAL Team 6 in to get you.
Right. Like, yeah. Like what's the game plan? Like what's the longevity of this state of being a techno king of a half country?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying is that and also it is a felony to bear false witness to the federal government, especially the way he was doing it. So at the very least, they could get him on that.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I mean, as Tony Stark would say, not a great plan. Okay, so I'm trying to think. Was there anything else I had an issue with?
So this is a petty nitpick.
Okay.
The actress who played Hawk Girl was fine enough in the role because
Yeah.
she is kind of playing the Justice League Unlimited short badass with the temper version
Yeah.
that people like so well. Stop with the stupid hawk screeches every time she attacks. It doesn't sound good.
Yeah, that got annoying after a while.
Also, you were mentioning earlier that you mentioned last week that you thought that the comic relief never really hit.
Yeah.
I think I had it hit for me a few more times than you did, but there were
Okay.
definitely some jokes that fell a bit flat.
Yeah.
Well, see, Ninja actually likes the hawk screeches, so reasonable minds will differ.
Yes. Yeah, I just thought that like there were moments in there where like there was kind of like inappropriate humor moments. There's like,
Right. It
okay, you're
wasn't
doing a
not as many as a typical Marvel movie these days, but still a
yeah.
couple.
Yeah, and they were trying really hard to kind of have Superman be like more dorky than previous iterations, and it's like, okay, and I didn't really land, a couple of times it didn't really land all that well. And
Yeah.
yeah, and Ninja points this out. Yeah, yeah, Mr. Terrific's slow door opening.
See, both theaters I was in, that got a big laugh. So
Oh,
that's another case of reasonable minds will differ.
yeah, we got a couple of. I think my theater had a couple of chuckles, but I was kind of sitting there going,
It was a
move
jerk.
along,
It was
move
the
along.
jerk style, overly long build up joke.
Yeah, yeah,
That isn't anything.
yeah,
Let's see here. And then I'd say that my biggest thing is that while I think that they had the right idea for Superman, um, I he's kind of too much of the conflict avoidant millennial.
mm,
Um, like, and I think I can kind of see the logic behind the way he was portrayed. In that, okay, like imagine that you can solve any problem with immediate violence, but you restrain yourself, but you feel so strongly, and you're kind of doted on by what seemed to be a very permissive and kind version of Ma and Pa Kent.
yeah,
So
yeah.
he like just not socialized entirely well to deal with conflict.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, you could definitely tell that with when he does his interview with Lois Lane and him getting
Right.
frustrated. Yeah,
And on a second viewing, that scene was a little bit harder to watch just because it felt like it was kind of forcing a plot, but or forcing the plot to happen a bit. But overall, I liked their relationship. Like they had more chemistry and banter in like even the worst scene than Amy Adams and Henry Cavill managed to in multiple Superman movies.
yeah,
And he didn't even climb into a bath with her.
yeah. Jeez. Yeah, I no, I like this version of Lois Lane. Um, the actress Rachel Brosnahan, I believe is her. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I've seen her in other things. She was really good on House of Cards. And she was on another show on Amazon Prime. I can't remember the name of it, where she played like a stand-up comedian. Um, but I like this version of her. Like it would seem more of a not quite as snipey or snidey or as like Margot Kidder's version or like
Yes.
the animated series version.
Yeah, and it definitely is playing in that Superman the animated series wheelhouse there.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's like Superman himself again. Just I feel like he was off because he cared so much. If that makes sense. Like it's
Yeah.
not just he was an awkward man child. It's just that it's almost like he's a good person who doesn't understand how everybody else can't see things the way he does and just gets frustrated.
Yeah.
Like, people were going to die, Lois.
Yeah.
And like that's the end all be all of his argument. He's basically like the homeschooled religious kid who gets out into the world and is frustrated that he can't argue his way out of a wet paper sack.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to characterize him. Yeah, because he can't see beyond, like, he's not seeing the forest of the trees, basically. Where he's like, he only sees like what's the immediate problem in front of him, and not like the long term implications of what he's doing.
And he doesn't necessarily get that by the end of the movie. It's more just like that his attitude of basic kindness and generosity does win him the day.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, Ninja agrees. He thought she was a good Lois Lane, and he liked that they were an item. And yeah, I do too. Like, I've never really been a big fan of the Superman Lois will they won't they, or like, oh, does
you can get a movie out of that.
Yeah, yeah. And then he says, "What do we think of? Do you think Jimmy Olsen and Perry White know that Clark Kent is Superman?"
I don't think we have enough of Perry White from this movie to really judge one way or the other. Like, I don't think he really has any direct interactions with Clark.
No, I think he may have had like brief interactions at the beginning of the movie. Jimmy Olsen might.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He said he believes it because it makes Lex's comment about finding Clark Kent all the funnier. Oh yeah, yeah. That was another little bit in the movie where he's basically interviewing himself. Like, oh, Clark Kent's got an interview with Superman.
Yeah. And also, like, when Superman was threatening to kill people that Superman knew, he does actually kill someone, and then he says, well, maybe I'll get that Clark Kent guy you're always being interviewed by next.
Like, yeah, good luck with that.
That's actually feels like a callback to the John Byrne version of Superman, where there was a storyline where Lex and a data analyst scientist who he seduced kind of forcefully, me too, if you will. Basically, she came up with the conclusion that Clark Kent was Superman, and Lex refused to believe it and tossed her out and fired her on the spot because anybody with as much power as Superman would not pretend to be a nothing reporter. And it feels like this version of Lex Luthor is very similarly like hidebound in his own like ideas of what you do with power.
Oh yeah.
Let's see here. Other negatives. I think that's largely it.
Yeah. I will say, well, another one. We've got to mention the cameo at the end of the movie.
Okay. So Supergirl, the Woman of Tomorrow, this version clearly based on the Tom King comic book from a few years back of the same name, which is basically just True Grit, but you plop in Supergirl on an alien planet where she's depowered a bit because she needs to be under a red sun to drink.
Yeah.
And get a buzz. My only thought that this could possibly end up being better than the Tom King version is that Tom King is a joyless man who enjoys the sensation of being miserable for its own sake.
Yeah.
And it shows up in his writing. But this version of it, like I called her Kesha Supergirl. Definitely waking up in the morning and feeling like P. Diddy.
Yeah.
Which means something different than it did in 2009. Brushing your teeth with a bottle of Jack. Like, this is definitely a much more happy party girl than what I recall from what I read of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. So
yeah,
maybe we luck out there, and it's just because there would be something kind of fun about like a Paris Hiltoning through space. And just using like enhanced strength to bulldoze her way through problems.
Yeah.
While having a big hangover.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing about her presence, though, is, and she has to come in and out of the movie very quickly, because the logical thing, like, cousin, hold up a second. Are we a race of space conquerors? Is this a legit message?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they kind of glossed over that. Yeah.
But yeah, so those are the negatives. I think I just ended up starting there because they were primary on my mind. I also I'll give one more negative, and this is more just a boy. I guess they really wanted. I guess Lee really wanted to have some sort of royalties from his engineer character, because I'm pretty sure she's a Wildstorm character that they've adopted.
I was wondering about that. Yeah.
I am pretty sure. I haven't really read any of this. Engineer, Wildstorm comics. For those who don't know, Jim Lee was an X-Men artist. Then he helped found Image, and then he made his Wildstorm comic books, which eventually DC ended up buying them out, mostly to get him in the talent pool.
Yeah.
And so, like, those characters have just been bopping around the DC universe ever since. And there is a male engineer in the Wildstorm universe. Okay, from the Authority, which I think, the Authority is from the Wildstorm universe. So,
okay,
that tracks. Which is why she has a very uninspiring name, because it was like that phase of 90s to 2000s comics where it's like, man, we got to be plain and ordinary, and the costume should be functional.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Like, I don't necessarily object to her inclusion and her role in the movie. It's more just that I'm not fond of that universe in general. And so it's like it felt out of place, because like that's one of the only characters that did not exist in the 70s with most of these characters around. Yeah. This version of Mr. Terrific might have also come in later, but I don't recall.
Oh yeah.
But he definitely feels very 70s.
Yeah. And what Guy Gardner Green Lantern he was 60s, wasn't he?
Yeah, he started off in the 60s, but I think him being portrayed as this sort of lunk meathead only started in the 80s with the Justice League International. Okay.
You mean they weren't the Justice Gang?
No. Okay, that was one of the jokes that I'll say it's a joke that isn't funny on its own, but they managed to do some funny riffs on it.
Yeah.
Like Guy Gardner stretching the Green Lantern code, Metamorpho actually liking the name.
Yeah.
In fact, let's get to the positives now.
Yes. Yeah.
While the movie was a bit overstuffed, I never thought in my adult life I was going to see a comic book accurate version of Mr. Terrific and actually think he was cool.
Yeah. Well, James Gunn has a talent for taking obscure characters like that and actually making them cool or giving them a different twist.
Oh wait, okay. You know what? I just remembered his fight scene where he was basically Yondu version 2.0, just with his drones.
Oh yeah.
There is one more negative I'm going to say.
Okay.
James Gunn is usually very good at picking out a soundtrack for the movie. It's like okay, so the movie is very 70s coded all over the place. It looks like a Bronze or Silver Age comic book. But for the soundtrack, you made up non-existent bad corporate punk bands that you yourself sang in for the ending credits song, instead of just picking a smattering of the best hits of the 70s to layer into your movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like that scene where he was Yondu version 2, where Mr. Terrific was Yondu version 2, was great.
Yeah.
But the sound, I hate the song every time I've seen it. It's just,
yeah.
I don't know if that was a real song or one of his made up bands that Clark liked growing up. That's an example of kind of the over self-indulgence in the movie.
Yeah. I will say some of the positives that I had, and I'll just reiterate them. I think where I mentioned that I did like David Cornsweet's version of Superman. I liked Rachel Brosnahan as Lois. The other characters I thought were really, really decent. Their portrayals were written really well. The effects I thought were decent too.
Yeah, there weren't really a lot of holes in them. Some of them looked a little bit like AI or not AI slop, excuse me, CGI slop, but it's not like hatefully so. Like,
yeah,
maybe my standards have just been so lowered by things like The Flash and whatnot that anything looks good by comparison. But
yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I think that my rating on this was 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah, and that's a totally fair rating. It was like the plot isn't necessarily doesn't hold up super well, but I like all the characters. It's kind of funny how they managed to get two different refugees from X-Men First Class. You had Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, who of course was the Beast in that one.
Yeah. Who was the other one?
So Mr. Terrific was played by, let's see here.
Oh, was he Darwin?
Yes, he was, apparently.
Okay.
And what's funny about that is I happened to read that somewhere, and I mentioned it to my dad after we saw the movie. He said, "Oh, I thought he looked familiar." And I said, "Well, you have a better memory than me because I didn't recognize anything under that big black T."
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah.
But yeah, so even though I can take some issues with Lex Luthor's plan, I never doubted Lex Luthor. I liked watching him do his thing. He did kind of remind me of some people I know who can be very powerful and overbearing.
Mm-hmm.
Just like if they had no filter. I think that's the other thing is that he just had no filter for so many years that he let himself get sloppy.
Oh yeah.
But like I loved how he spent all that time analyzing Superman, just like 1A, 4B, 75C. I just had worked out all these maneuvers to feed to Ultraman to beat up Superman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I liked how they gave Metamorpho a little shine.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like they made him look bad, although they never really explained why he has a Martian baby. I think that was like a later element, but I forget when that would have come up. Like they basically showed he was a good man being forced to do bad things.
Yeah,
and he got to redeem himself in the end, which is nice.
Yeah. It's also another little James Gunn thing in there too. Yeah, little something that he does, and he did that, and I think he did that in quite a few of the Guardians movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Guy Gardner was he was kind of made to play Guy Gardner. Fillion was, which is funny considering that they've had him be Hal Jordan in a bunch of their animation movies over the last decade or so.
Yeah. Well, he was probably too old to play Hal Jordan at this point. So
technically, he's too old to play Guy Gardner, but he definitely has the persona down.
Yeah.
Also, I find it funny that everybody online is complaining about Superman saving a squirrel, and it's like if it was a kitten, you wouldn't have even blinked.
Oh yeah. Well, apparently, I read somewhere that James Gunn actually took that scene out because at first he took it out because the test audiences didn't like it, but then he watched it without that scene and he was like, I really like that scene, and he put it back in.
Right. I would call that a good instance of self-indulgence because it does just show that Superman is a big softie.
Yeah.
He even showed concern for that big kaiju, which is so in character for him.
Oh yeah. He was like, well, we need to capture it and send it somewhere to another planet so we can study it. And then the other guys are like, nah, let's just kill it.
Yeah, and Justice Gang is basically like, what's there to study? It's a monster.
Yeah.
we already touched on how Superman feels. He feels very kind. Okay, so what was your opinion on Crypto? Too little, too much, not enough?
I would say probably too much.
Yeah, there was maybe a little bit too much of him.
Yeah.
There was a dog in my life who is similarly kind of wild like that, and so
Oh,
I just
just like
kept thinking that, like, just very much like doesn't really growl at you much, but definitely loves to say hi with teeth, and is just too
uh,
excited. Like she particularly likes me and is always way too excited to see me. I
oh,
can like start and like especially when she was a puppy, she would jump around and claw at you and like and she'll still like bark at me if I sit in a chair instead of on the couch where she can come up and say hi
no.
when I go over to visit.
Uh,
Um, so it's just like that definitely feels like a dog that is a little bit out of control. So
yeah.
it's like his scenes, the Crypto scenes definitely felt very true to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, there probably could have been a couple fewer of them, but
Yeah.
and my dad thought that they had a real dog for some scenes. I was of the opinion he was 100% CGI. What did your eyes tell you?
Probably a little bit of both. They probably had a real dog for some kind of the closer up scenes, and then like the scenes where he's like really animated and like when he's really jumping up and down and doing
Right.
all this stuff, that he was definitely CGI. I would say he was definitely CGI when they're at the farmhouse and he's and Superman's laying on the bed and he's got his head on his chest and looking at him. That was definitely a CGI.
Yeah, I think I recall hearing that the way they are portraying portraying Superdog here is it's like it's based on Gunn's dog.
Uh,
So maybe they scanned him in.
yeah, probably. Yeah.
But yeah, that was like a cute little thing. Like again, it was overdone a bit, but also I was very confused about the whole. Is that your dog? No, it's kind of a foster thing. It's like, is that a joke that he's adopted? No, he literally just was looking after him while Supergirl was out of town.
Yeah. You actually say, "Where's my dog?" Uh,
Let's see.
well, why don't you continue? I will be right back.
Okay. I think I basically have gone over everything I wanted to go over. My overall conclusions on the movie are that it's a bit messy, but it's like there isn't anything that is outright bad. They're just like there are elements of the plot that don't make a lot of sense when you think about them. Although both times I watched it, it felt right, if that makes sense. I think they have a good foundation here for whatever the next movie is in this DC universe, especially another Superman movie, because if they can get him out of this sort of immature mindset that he's been in, then we can actually really go somewhere cool with it. I think now I think that a lot of I can understand where people would be negative on this. Um, Maybe you're not like me and you don't give a movie credit for just being kind of a throwback to a particular era of comic books that I wasn't alive for it, but I had old comic books that my dad had collected as a youth, and also some like old compilation collections. And so it definitely felt very familiar and fun to me. And what's his name? Mark Miller said that that he thought that was an interesting move to base it on the apex of Superman's sales history, which was like 1968 or to 1970s or so.
Yeah. Hmm.
And see, and Ninja asked the question: who would you want to be the next Superman villain? Uh,
Brainiac.
Yep, Brainiac. Like I was expecting. Okay, so because the movie was being so divisive and I intended to see it, I intentionally stayed away from trailer reactions, the trailers, sneak peeks, interviews with James Gunn, people's reactions to them,
Yeah.
just anything. And so I actually kind of expected Brainiac in this movie almost just based on what little I'd heard of the plot. But Brainiac would be a logical follow-up. And I even know how you could work it in. You have Superman find a probe at the edge of the solar system that he thinks is Kryptonian in origin. And he, of course, is immediately desperate to go find this thing because he thinks, hey, I can find out if that message from my mom and dad from Krypton were real, or was real or not. Then he brings Brainiac back to Earth and then starts hacking technology. Maybe even pretending to be on his side at first.
Yeah. You can even have Brainiac be from Krypton like he has been in previous iterations.
Oh, right. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's from Krypton, so Superman is kind of like Superman in the animated series. Like, he's very excited to run into Brainiac at first until he finds out what's actually going on.
Yeah.
But this was the most comic book movie we've had in a while. Yeah. It is a bit jarring how much it likes it. And unlike the average Snyderverse movie, I didn't feel depressed at the end of it. Like, when I watched Man of Steel, I had my overall thoughts were some critics had overblown certain things about it, but overall on the net, it's a miserable movie that just makes you feel sad to be alive.
Yeah. Yeah, whereas, this is more hopeful, optimistic Superman. Yeah.
Right. Which, you know what, I will take, even if I thought that Man of Steel had a better plot and writing, it doesn't. I would still watch this one any day of the week over it. And I managed to watch it twice without getting too down on it, which the last movie I did back-to-back viewings of with different people or circumstances was Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, because I'd watched it pirated with a friend and felt so bad I immediately ran to the theaters to go see it.
And Ninja says if it's Brainiac, then he wants Candor in the bottle.
Yeah, you could tie in Supergirl with it. Like, after she's had her own movie, have a team up with the Super Cousins.
Yeah.
But
hopefully she'll be sober.
Hey, man. Hey, Clark. I got my 5-day badge. I thought you joined AA a month ago. It's a process, Clark.
Jeez. Yeah.